What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Best Self Blueprint. For those of you who don't know, the mission of this podcast is to bring on people or by my lonesome, talk about the knowledge, insights, and experiences that will help you move the dial towards becoming the best version of yourself, whatever that means to you. So before we get into it, just a couple quick things. The apparel is in. If you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. I'm a big fan of comfy, and these t-shirts are super comfy. So definitely take a look at that. We have a lot of events coming up. We have free classes. We've got paid workshops. We've got charity events, collaborations, all the stuff. So check out the social media and then all the YouTube spiel. Like this, throw a comment in there, share it with a friend, all the stuff. But one of the collaborations that I'm putting on May 18th will be for people who are struggling with self-confidence, people who want to level up both in health and fitness and in life as it pertains to how they view themselves, how they think about themselves, and just how they put that out into the world. And the person I'm collaborating with, Krista Smith. How's it
Hello,
going?
it's going good. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Yeah. So I figured since we're doing a workshop together, the least we could do is have a conversation together too. But the reason we're doing self-confidence is because you yourself, on your path to now being a coach, it started with you having very little
Yes,
self-confidence and self-worth. So
definitely.
just run me through the kind of journey of talking about where you were at when you had like the very little self-confidence of, you're talking about like not wanting to get out of the car until a friend showed up and got out of the
Yes.
car, or like when you were in the gym kind of finding your little corner to go to, just the evolution of that version of you to now the version of you that steps on stage for competitions.
Okay. I would say when I started off my journey through all of this, I started off hiding in the corner of the gym. But I had a huge goal. My goal was to compete in a bodybuilding competition for the first time. So I had to go from hiding in that tiny little corner to getting workouts from my coach that I would look at them like, okay, number one, I don't know how to do this. And number two, now I have to go to the scary big weight section. So that was a big step because it was either I went to that big weight section, like I figured it out, or I'm not going to meet my goal. So I figured out a little way to get over that fear and get out of that corner and do the work that I needed to do. So I went from timid and hiding in a corner to walking out on a stage in front of a crowd full of people and judges. And it's been an amazing journey. I've gone from hiding and not wanting to go into places on my own to walking into intimidating places like I own them. And it's been awesome. And I really am excited to share that.
What was the thing that broke you out of it? So for me, anyone who's listened to other episodes probably knows my story at this point, but coming out of high school, I very quickly was rolling down a path of misalignment, and things just started stacking in the negative. And there were a few key experiences that just woke me up almost, because we both talk about awareness a lot.
Mhm.
What was it that woke you up or got you to start making those switches from timid, shy in the corner to at least moving on the path towards competing?
I would say the images, this goes back to high school, like to 19 in the 90s, where I would look at bodybuilding magazines, be like, ooh, I want to do that someday. So I think what broke me out of that was that I kept a picture of the very expensive sparkly bikini that I would have to wear. And I
Mm.
kept that picture on my phone. I had little pictures printed out that I stuck on the vents in my car so that it was a constant reminder. I had one on my mirror. And I always reminded myself of when, if you're nervous about doing something, I pictured, but I get to wear this at the end of this. So that bikini was just like, I cannot wait to wear this thing. And the thought of the glamorous day of hair and makeup and just being somebody that I was completely not, doing the exact opposite of what I used to be.
Hmm. So what were some of the things you were doing when you were not in alignment with that? Because we talked about, I ask a good amount of people, like, worst and best chapter of your life, what were some of the factors going on? And when you talk about the worst chapter of your life, you said it came from feeling stuck in a reality, detached from purpose, kind of stacking some regrets, being in a job where it's almost like, there's a movie called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, I believe. And this guy is daydreaming all the time of these crazy adventures he gets to go on. And then he works a really boring job. And throughout the movie, he goes on this wild hunt for a photographer and ends up going on these crazy adventures. And he stops daydreaming because now he's living the dream, quite literally living his dream.
Okay.
So when you were dreaming about all of these things that were in alignment with your purpose, that you had a passion about, first of all, what does it feel like when you're detached from that? Like, if you can put yourself back in that spot, and then what were the first action steps you took to start closing that gap?
Okay. I would say it just felt like I was just going through the motions. Like there was no, it was mindless. Like I would go to work and be like, how did I even get here? Or not even noticing simple things like, wow, that's an amazing sunset. It was just blinders on, just get this day done with. That was my goal, just to get the day done with. And then action steps to kind of break out of that were breaking down what the fear was and how I could get over that. So if it was a fear of moving into the big weight section, okay, what does that look like? Or my coach gave me an exercise I didn't know how to do, I would literally look it up. I'd look it up and I'd watch other people do it. And then I'd be like, okay, well, I need this piece of equipment and this over here and this over here. I would visualize myself doing it so that when I got to the gym and I had that workout to do, I already knew I could eliminate the fear, just go right, grab this, grab part A, grab part A, grab part B, and then just do the movement. So it was just visualization was huge.
Yeah, there is something really powerful about it. I mean, there's no shortage of studies that show benefits of visualizing a thing before doing the thing. Even there was one, and I don't know a lot of the details around it, but they took an experiment group of people that the whole purpose was learning piano. And they separated them into three groups. Obviously, none of them knew how to play piano before.
Okay.
One group every day for X amount of time per day, they actually had a piano and they practiced the piano.
Mhm.
They had a second group that never touched a keyboard and all they did was just visualize playing. And then there was a third group that I believe they were given like all of the notes and they were shown all of the things to essentially educate themselves on how to play the piano. And there was a monumental gap between the group of people who had all the information but didn't have the experience and the other two groups. But the one that was crazy is there was only a slight difference between people who actually played the piano and people who every day visualized playing the piano. And a big piece of it is our mind doesn't know the difference between what we're imagining and what we're experiencing. That's the reason for, you know, a lot of trauma is, even though you're where your feet are, your mind is somewhere else. And so that ability to control that powerful piece of, you can put your mind somewhere else that's advantageous to be regardless of where your feet are.
Okay. Yeah.
Despite obviously, I'm a big believer in be present, be where your feet are. But in terms of visualization, if you don't yet have all of the tools to do the thing in the moment, start practicing putting the pieces together so that when you get there, it's a familiar feeling,
Yep.
it's familiar movements, it's familiar actions. So I think that's a big piece of it. Now, once you start getting the momentum, for someone who's listening to this and they're at the point where, let's say they're starting to go to the gym, they're starting to eat a little better, but maybe they've either hit a plateau or they've kind of lost their motivation. were you ever in a spot like that where you were pushing, 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 and then all of a sudden you just hit a plateau,
Mhm.
or you were pushing, 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 and then this thing that you were so motivated to do, you just lost all the motivation? Walk me through, if you've gone through that, walk me through kind of what that experience is like and how you move past that little road bump.
Definitely. I signed up for a fun deadlift competition, which I'd never done before. And there was a particular weight that I wanted to hit. So I hit that weight at the competition because when I get in competition mode, that's the only thing in my head. The world could be falling apart. I don't care. I am here to pick up that weight, and that's going to happen. So I did it, and I was really proud of myself, but just for a tiny bit of time, because I was stuck with that weight for a year. For a year, I fought the same weight over and over again. And every Friday, which was deadlift day, I would get there and my head had already shut it down. If I didn't change my head, there was no way that weight was getting off the floor. And then one day I finally got it. And now that weight that I couldn't move for a year, I can now do for reps and have done higher since then. So I would say what kept me going was anger. Like anger and frustration. Like, I know I've done this. Why am I stuck at this already? Or why am I still stuck at this? So I just kind of put that, it was almost like I was oblivious to the fact that probably going to come in here again this week and not going to get it. But I just kept going because I was just driven so bad by wanting to get it again. So did the advance a year past that, did the deadlift competition again, and did more, just picked the number I wanted to hit and hit it. Although I was a little disappointed because I think it could have gone higher. But I think that's the one thing that keeps you going, is knowing that, okay, great, I hit this, but not going to be good enough. So always pushing to what's going to be next? What's next year? So,
When you said a big piece of it too about your mind, where it was like you kind of went in and your mind, I'm sure for a lot of those sessions had already kind of determined like it's just going to be the same weight again.
yep.
It's just going to be same act, different day. But this is something that for a long time I battled with, because putting more of the spiritual lens on it, there is a lot of talk around what it, like high vibes, right?
Mhm.
But scientifically speaking, what mood you're in and what energy you're holding resonates at a specific frequency.
Definitely.
And so for a long time, I battled this idea of using anger. Maybe I watched too much Star Wars and was thinking about the Sith, but there was this pushback for me on, well, I shouldn't be using this source because this source isn't positive.
Hmm.
But there is no denying that if you're in a spot where it's either you wait for the day that you're all of a sudden happy and feeling love and abundance and all of that, or you just use the tool that you have right now to get to the next step while on the back end working to manage the anger and the
Mhm.
frustration and all of that. I think that's way more powerful practice. And it just, again, at least for me, it was confirming evidence that I don't have to feel like doing the thing to do the thing.
Right.
And I don't even have to feel good
Nope.
about, where I'm at to do the thing. And there have been a lot of successful people I've been following who really seem to push that sentiment of, listen, you can have the best intentions in the world, but you do nothing.
Mhm.
You can have the worst intentions in the world and still do great things. Obviously, I believe I have good intentions, but in terms of mood and in terms of where am I drawing my energy from, I've recently allowed myself more to use the negative side of things where it's like, okay, I am fearful of this thing. Let's use that as a motivator. I am frustrated about this thing. Let's use that as a motivator. And using every tool in the tool belt, not just the ones that are fancy and look cool.
Right.
So for you, when, because I think now you have shifted and you do act a lot out of the positive side, right?
Yes.
With your coaching, you're acting out of service, you're acting out of love, you're acting out of abundance because you have an abundance of experience in this thing. What do you see as the difference in the fulfillment side? Because I think when you're acting out of anger, frustration, those things, it's more about getting out of where you're at and to the finish line or to the next step, as opposed to when you're acting out of love, abundance, gratitude, those things,
Right.
you're a lot more integrated in the process. So have you noticed that, or what's been your experience drawing from the different sources?
I think what's hard in what I do in bodybuilding, because it is so, it's self-centered. So it's easy to get to the gym and know I have all of this stuff to do and looking at it as a work list. But then balancing that between appreciating, like you say, being grateful for, first of all, being able to do this, like having the coach and the just the time and all the things that I need to be able to do this, but also being able to balance that, and between sets or rest times, being able to appreciate watching what other people are doing, because being able to cheer someone else on that's got a heavy lift coming up, it's a nice little break, like to bring myself into more of that group. I think it's hard to explain. And just knowing that everyone there is cheering everyone else on. And if I come in there with this attitude of, oh, I'm mad, people feed that, people that can read other people's like emotional levels, it might bring somebody else down. So now if I go into it with just, I'm here to have fun. I'm here to appreciate the fun gym dogs that are there or the nonsense that goes on. And it just gives everybody, if I come in with good energy, I'm going to give you good energy. And that's going to help you do something. You're going to pick up something heavy and I'm going to be like, yeah, you just got that. And it's going to give me energy to go and do my best as well.
It's contagious, both sides of it. It's contagious.
Yep.
So now getting into you as a coach, because again, you've had the journey of timid, shy, out of alignment. You busted your butt to make sure that you were in a spot where you were confident, capable, doing things in alignment. And I really think that's what a coach should be, is not someone who just knows the answers, but has practiced and implemented and had success with what they're talking about. So now for you putting the coach hat on, what is your mission with people that you work with? What is the thing that you want to make sure you're helping people with or adding value in their lives with?
Sure. I would definitely say it is the self-confidence that starts in the gym, but then extends to all different other areas of your life. And nothing for me is more rewarding than I hear someone say, if I ask them to say, do a push-up. I love push-ups. There's a million different varieties. They're great. For them to say, I can't. And then it's like, okay, well, then maybe we start on the wall. And now they graduate from push-ups on the wall. Now they're down on their knees. And then when someone says, hey, I just did 5 push-ups on my own, that to me is absolute success. Because if you can push that I can't in a push-up, you can overcome that I can't with other things. And that's so rewarding to see that. I had someone that wasn't even a client of mine that was working on push-ups, and she's like, well, I can't, but by next year I'm going to have this many. And she remembered that. And all of a sudden she's like, watch me. And she got her 5 push-ups, and the look on her face was like, you're amazing. And she wasn't even a client, but we had like conversations and shared like little tips, and this is how you can get there. And I love seeing people that are just absolutely intimidated or fearful. I had a client that I met her in the parking lot out of her car. And she's like, I'm kind of scared to go in. And I'm like, that's why you got me. Because I'm here to make you not afraid. Like, this is my space and I'm going to show you how to make it your space.
Heck yeah. What about for the people who, because that is, in my opinion, the essence of this game of life, is progress in a pursuit of something that you care about. And so the fact that you're able to help and guide people to catalyze that process is amazing. What's your advice for the people who, like you said, the piece of it is progress. It's the person who they show up and they say like, "Oh, I can't do this thing right now, but by next year, I'm going to do this thing." On the flip side, there are plenty of people who say, "My New Year's resolution is to stop eating fast food." And then 2 weeks later, they find themselves 3 cheeseburgers deep in a McDonald's drive-through and they throw it out the window. For the people who have set goals and fallen short on the goals and now are losing that hope, what's your advice to those people? The people who they want it, they want to make sure that they're showing up, but they've lost the battle so many times that, like you were talking about with lifting the weight, they just show up and they're like, "Man, the battle's already lost. I just have to get back on the battlefield again."
Yep. I would say refamiliarize yourself with what your goal is. And if you have to get a giant piece of paper or whatever, write down at the end of the road, I want you to draw a road. At the end of that road, put your goal. And then go back to the starting point of where you're at and focus on all, or not focus on, but think of the things that are going to derail you. So if YouTube is going to derail you, make a YouTube exit. If a video game is going to derail you, make a video game exit. If eating junk food is going to derail you, make that exit. Now, on that same piece of paper, I want barricades on all of those exits so that all you see is what's in front of you. Focus on what's ahead of you. Don't look left, don't look right. And if you find yourself going back to those exits where you're like, "Oh, darn it, I took the wrong exit," ask yourself, is what I'm doing now helping me get to my destination? Is it getting me to the end of the road? And if your answer is no, then get back on the road. You just have to laser focus that one thing. And if you need to make your goal simpler, make it simple. If your goal is to knock out 5 push-ups in a year, don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about what Bob is doing. Don't worry about what's going on in this corner of the gym. Your focus is to get those 5 push-ups.
What's your opinion on the balance between having grace for yourself and holding yourself accountable? Because this is something I think it depends on the person, how you implement having grace and how you implement holding someone accountable. Like, I've had clients who want me to scream at them like their college football coach did. And I've had people who, if I were to scream at them, they'd probably cry and run out of the room. And also, I've had people who, when they mess up, they need the affirmation of it's okay, everyone makes mistakes. And then there are the people who, like I said, if they mess up, they want to get yelled at and told they're a POS, and that is it's a fine line to navigate, but I do think everybody needs both the accountability of, "Hey, you messed up. We need to make sure that doesn't happen again." And the grace of no one is perfect.
Right.
What do you see as the balance between those two things?
I would say for me, what I do, I write down, my coach tells me what to do. I write down my workouts. I have notebooks dating back from 2018, I believe, 2017. So I have all of this. And I will rate my workout. So I will put on there, the first thing I put on is what could I have done better? So say if it was, I could have pushed harder or I could have gone 3 more, but then I also make sure that I write down what went well. So that one particular day, split squats felt like, man, I can just keep adding on the weight and just crush these. Then I will write that down as this one went well, or this one went well. But that one thing that I write down, the first one, is the one that how could have improved, or say this wasn't good that day. I would figure out, okay, it wasn't good, but what will I do next time to make it better? So if it was to add on heavier weights or to start at a different weight, then when I go back to that same exercise, I'm like, all right, last time I did this and it didn't go so well. So now I'm going to do this. So I like to have, I balance out. I want to write down or think about what went bad, but also have more things that went well.
Yeah. And that's a good practice just for I did this for a while, was at the end of every day. I would have not this size notebook, but a little like pocket notebook. And I would write out, okay, 3 things. I did it in the reverse order. So I would do like 3 things that I was grateful for, appreciative of, that kind of life gave me during the day. Then it would be 3 things that I'm appreciative of that I did. So it's something I did well, something I stuck to doing when it was tough, that side of things. And then on the flip side, it was, okay, what are things that I could have done better or differently?
Sure.
So that could be doing more of something that I know I need to do more of. That could be cutting something out that I participated in. But it's just, again, that word awareness always seems to be the trunk of the tree for me, where if you have the awareness and analyze the things that are happening, it switches you from just being a bystander to driving the vehicle. And that really is when it comes to, like we're talking about, when it comes to self-confidence, I think that's a big piece of it is, are you actually driving the vehicle, and are you driving it down the road you want to be driving it? Or are you a bystander in a vehicle that's hitting every exit on the way to, the opposite direction you want to go? But it's a difficult thing to start, because when you're in a spot where you don't feel good about who you are, you don't feel like you have any evidence supporting that you can make the change, it almost feels like you're hoping for something else to jumpstart the process. But how do you see best that people can jumpstart their own process?
I would say if it's like a fitness goal or a gym goal, is to think about that one thing that you are really, really good at. If you are really good at, if you excel at bench press, which is my worst subject. So if you do excel, let me know how you do it. But if you excel at something, do everything you can to make that skill even better, because that's where your comfort level is. So if you're going into a new gym or a new situation, eye up that bench press, get over there and get that one done first. And then pick something smaller that you want to progress at and break it down into little mini segments. So if you want to get good at, say, the push-ups again, how do you, bad example, because if you can bench press, you can, if you can bench press, you can push up. So we'll take it to something else. Say if you want to develop a squat or something, break it down into, okay, start off with maybe not the whole barbell, start off with a dumbbell and just get the motion down and watch videos, watch how other people are doing it, watch other techniques. And if you see someone at the gym that looks friendly, my gosh, ask them like, hey, how did you start? Because I remember doing that. I would kind of like look back and see like, okay, that's how you do that. Or, okay, now I know how to do that. Just build little things that you're confident with, get that one really good, and then take it to the next level.
I dig it. All right. Well, as we start to kind of wind things down, I'm always just curious, because obviously I'm the one asking the questions, seeing where your head's at with these things. But we've talked a lot about self-confidence, about different steps in the journey, about things that can get in people's way. What, if anything else, do you want to make sure people get away from this topic in particular, or something else we haven't discussed?
I would say that if you have a fear of anything, whether it's a workout or even if it's going to an event on your own, but you really, really want to go and you're tired of waiting for people to go with you. That's what drove me a lot, was like, I want to do this stuff and I'm tired of waiting for somebody to do it with me. So I would learn as much as I can about the thing that I wanted to do. When I started bodybuilding competitions, I went to one because I'm like, I want to do this, but yet I've never seen it. But that took me to driving somewhere where I hadn't gone before. So I would break it down and look at not a, new maps, Google Maps, look at places that I'd have to drive by, so that on my journey, I'm like, oh, I knew I was going to pass by Bob's Burgers. Then I could see that along my journey. So it gave me a little bit of confidence to know that, oh, I was right. I'm going in the right direction. And just to learn as much about that fear. So, like I said, watching videos about what your fear is, looking at a map of how to get there, talking to other people like, hey, I saw that you did that. How did you get started on that journey? And just trying to immerse yourself in your fear, which sounds weird, but just throw yourself in it. Visualize all the bad things that could happen so that if they happen, you already have a plan B. So for me, driving new places always scared me. So I'm like, well, the worst that could happen is I get lost. And that's not even that bad because the lady on the GPS is going to tell me how to fix it. So I would say just learn as much as you can about that fear so that when your obstacles come up, you already know how to solve them.
That's a big piece of it. And also it's just the more exposure you get to it, the more you take away its power over you.
Yes.
I think that's part of it too, is fear can be such an illogical beast in your head. And so once you attach more logic to it, like for me, a big one was roller coasters, where I was that guy on the way to Six Flags Googling how many deaths annually are there from roller coasters. And it would be some astronomically small number. And yet there was still a number. So I was like, there's got to be someone. I might be that person. And just logically thinking about it, it's like, okay, I can be as scared as I want, but I'll at least get on the roller coaster. And so, yeah, just figuring out what is your roller coaster? What is that thing that it scares you, but it's not going to kill you or irreparably hurt you or other people? Just expose yourself to it. Go do it, get in the water, see that it's not as bad as your mind is allowing you to think it is. I think that should do it. Any other questions, comments, or concerns to address for the lovely people out there?
Would you get on the roller coaster again?
Oh yeah, now I love them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
there you
actually
go.
did at State Fair. They have that slingshot thing.
Oh, yeah, no.
I got in that.
No.
So that was, yeah, I enjoy roller coasters. I enjoy the thrill-seeking stuff. But yeah, for me, and through a long, arduous process, I've realized it's with everything in my life, it's about control. So like I would rather free solo rock climb a 100-foot cliff than go on a roller coaster because I can feel the control of like grabbing onto the cliff
Okay.
as to where this cart is just hurling me around on a track. I didn't build the track. I don't know how stable the cart is, although people a lot smarter than me did. So, but yeah. And so I guess that would be a good thing too for the people listening is I wasn't scared of roller coasters. I was scared of the lack of control.
Sure.
And so I think that's another piece of the knowledge around fear is, do you fear the thing or do you fear a component embedded in the thing? So just something to chew on with that. But all right, last question. And I like to ask this of just about everybody who comes on. For you right now in your life, what's the next step in you becoming your best self?
Practicing what I preach, getting out of the box, doing more things like this, collaborating more, and not overthinking things before I do them and just do them. So I'm building my confidence as I go. My main goal is I just want to help people feel like I do. And I did that by getting to the gym and building confidence there by picking up heavy things so that if I have to pick up something heavy at home and I'm all by myself, I can just go ahead and pick it up. And I'm like, dang, I just did that. So for me, it's all about helping people just feel awesome and amazing.
I dig it. Well, Krista, thank you for taking the time and coming on.
Thank you.
Anyone listening, as you well know, if you've gotten to this point in a podcast before, I will always thank you for investing the time. Hopefully, we were able to add value to your life. If so, go ahead and click that like button if anything we said resonated. If you have agreements, disagreements, comments, questions, concerns, that is why there is a comments box down below. And if there's someone you know who would get value from this conversation, that is why there's a share button. But thank you for tuning in. There will be a sign up form in the description below for our workshop, May 18th, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. That is Central Time. But if you're outside of that, you probably won't make it to the workshop anyways. Hosted at the studio, all about self-confidence, self-worth, getting yourself to a point that you feel good about. But we will leave it at that. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Apparel, events, Krista, all the stuff. Check it out, get involved, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Peace.